Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you guys like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So this is the 2024 battleground map. Whoever gets to 270 electoral votes, whether it's Donald Trump or Kamala Harris, is going to be the 47th president of the United States. Now, it is important to understand that Donald Trump does have several paths to victory, but we've talked a lot recently about Donald Trump's easiest path to victory. Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia. That will get him to 270 in the least amount of states possible. And we've also polled ourselves. We've teamed up with a few other people. We have been conducting polls. We did a national poll. Harris was up in the national popular vote, but not by enough to probably win the Electoral College, up by less than Biden won the popular vote by several points compared to 2020. And we polled Pennsylvania. Donald Trump is leading in the state of Pennsylvania. He leads the state of Pennsylvania by 1 point, so a rightward shift of a couple of points again from 2020 until now. And we also have taken it upon us to poll the state of North Carolina. Haven't polled Georgia yet, but we did poll North Carolina, and it's looking good for Donald Trump in North Carolina. He is in the lead. Donald Trump is at 50% in North Carolina. Kamala Harris is down there at 46 percentage points in this poll. That is a 2 to 3 point gain for Donald Trump since the 2020 election. That seems to be a recurring theme, and this was conducted after the DNC. We don't see a whole lot of movement. We don't even see that same response bias that we saw in our national poll. But on top of it, it is true. The governorship, Mark Robinson is behind. He is behind 47 to 37, but there are a lot of undecideds. You see Josh Stein, he's at 47%. He's only polling better than Kamala Harris by 1. We saw a lot of splitting in polls back in 2020, back in 2016. The gap on election day was much closer. I wouldn't fully write him off, even if people want to say that he's behind. And for the Attorney General's race, Dan Bishop is actually in the lead. He's leading Jeff Jackson 39 to 36. So we did see this. This was conducted on August 26th and August 27th. We have weighted the data properly. We've weighted all of the crosstabs the way they should, matched it up with the voter file in the state of North Carolina. And Donald Trump is leading. He's up by 4. He's doing very well with white voters in the state. He's doing very well among men. Harris is a little bit stronger with younger voters, and she's narrowly winning the 2020 election non-voters. But Donald Trump in the poll is flipping voters who voted for Biden in the 2020 election as well. He's flipping more of those than Harris is flipping of Donald Trump by a sizable margin, which is good. And also we pulled the VP picks because we've seen a lot of polls that have Vance in the negatives and Walz in the positives. We pull them head to head. That's what you have to do to get the most accurate result. And what we got is essentially, again, a jump ball, just like Pennsylvania, 41 for Walz, 40 for Vance in the likely voter sample. Basically the same thing we saw in the poll for Pennsylvania. So if he gets Pennsylvania, he gets North Carolina, he can win with Georgia. He actually could win with Michigan. It's unlikely that he wins Michigan but not Georgia, but he could if he just wants to add one state to his column besides Pennsylvania. Michigan would get him to 269, which technically he could win in the House, as Republicans will likely control enough state delegations, although it's true he could win with Arizona and Nevada, where Republicans are increasing their registrations in both by a substantial margin over the Democrats. So you see a lot of pathways for Donald Trump, but that is probably the main one, is North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Georgia. And it would make sense. Donald Trump in the state in 2020, he won North Carolina. It was the only swing state that he was able to get into his column. Very competent state GOP, still to this day. The GOP chairman, Michael Whatley, was the former chair of that North Carolina GOP, and we've kind of seen that success translate a decent amount to the national level, although I think we're going to get an even better picture of how things are going to be shaking out after this November. But still, you look at North Carolina, you see around Charlotte, you have a lot of these Democrat big dots. You have the Research Triangle area, Greensboro, Wake Forest, a little bit up here with Winston-Salem, and then down in the Charlotte area, you have Mecklenburg County, but you got a lot of these medium-sized red dots that kind of counteract all of that and more. And this was not a really great year for the Republicans back in 2020, but still, Donald Trump was able to go out there, expand his vote percentage by a little bit over 2016, even though the margin was less, and win the state in a bad national environment for him, for Republicans as a whole, by 1.3 percentage points. And in the midterms, which again, midterm data, not entirely indicative of general elections, but you did see some of the trends and shifts continue across the state. And you saw Ted Budd run it up in the Charlotte exurbs, the counties around Charlotte. He did very well in southeastern North Carolina as well as northeastern North Carolina compared to even Donald Trump in 2020. And those trends were there back in the 2020 election as Donald Trump improved in a lot of those places, and they did continue to carry over into the midterms. And Donald Trump just needs to hold his own, and he's going to carry the state. And I believe against Kamala Harris, in this current political climate where you have a lot of people upset with the current administration, they're going to want change. Donald Trump, they're going to want the reversion back to the Trump presidency first and foremost. I think Donald Trump probably is going to win the state by around 2 to 4 points. We got 4% of a lead for Trump in our poll. That kind of was on the higher end of my expectations. I thought he would be up in the poll. I think that he's up in North Carolina. But again, you see this here. Our crosstabs make a hell of a lot more sense than the New York Times poll, which had Donald Trump slightly down, and the dot map made next to no sense. We'll probably be making a dot map for North Carolina as well as Pennsylvania for our Pennsylvania poll soon. But in terms of what Trump needs to do, just continue those shifts that we see in the eastern part of the state, hold his own in the research triangle. He could lose maybe a little bit here and there, but he's definitely got to hold his own with these more, white working class voters in the suburbs of Charlotte. I believe that he's going to do so against Kamala Harris. I do believe that he's going to go out there. He's going to take the state again. There's a very competent Republican Party in North Carolina. I got to get those votes out, make sure we do that. Then Donald Trump is going to be able to take the state back into his column, which is totally crucial because that's the one state from 2020 that's, somewhat competitive that Donald Trump was able to get. And I think that he's going to hold it. But Donald Trump definitely is going to be spending a lot of time and energy there in the next month just because early voting is starting in less than a month in the state of North Carolina. And he's going to want to swamp them early and then swamp them again on Election Day with the remaining voters that he has. And he's going to be able to go out there and win. And the same thing goes for Pennsylvania. And then after that, he's going to need, a combination of 15 or 16 electoral votes to win. He does it with Wisconsin and Nevada. This was the initial path we talked about in 2023 when it looked like Georgia and Arizona were not looking so winnable. But Arizona looks very winnable. He could win with Arizona and Nevada. That would get him over the hump. That would get him to 270. He could get Wisconsin and Arizona. That would get him there. So there's many pathways that Donald Trump has if he's able to shore up these states on the map. And that's kind of what the main focus in the Trump campaign is. That's why there's been that focus on Pennsylvania. That's why he's been spending a lot of time in North Carolina, despite the fact that a lot of Democrats deep down know that they're not really favored to win the state this cycle, and they know it. They probably do have a better shot at winning Georgia. Doesn't mean that Georgia is necessarily off the table. I think Trump is probably favored in about 6 of those main big 7 swing states. Michigan is probably the only one that I would say that he's not currently favored in as things stand today. But even then, he's a slight underdog. I think he's going to do better in the state than 2020. The question is it going to be enough to carry him over the finish line? Who knows? But we're going to poll all of these states. And I'd like to hear from you guys which states we should poll next. Now, I will say this. It's really great that we're able to conduct all of these polls. But the truth is that they do end up costing money. If you guys want to donate directly to the GoFundMe that is used to fund these polls directly from On Point, us, and SoCal, well, you guys can do so. I'll put the link in the description and the pinned comment down below. In just about a week, a little bit more than that, we've been able to raise almost $6,000. Can we get to $6,000? That would be great. Definitely, these polls are great to have. They do cost money. If you guys can't donate, I fully understand. But still, if you guys would like to help out so we can get some more polls more frequently, definitely would speed things up over here. But in terms of what we're seeing on the electoral map, there are many pathways. 2016, they said there is no path. 2020, they, maybe they had a little path open because of PTSD that they had, but they also had states like Texas, Florida, Iowa, Ohio. They called those 4 swing states. Donald Trump won them all by a substantial margin, and he is likely set to do that again. And now the focus is on the main 7, and that's true. Trump is more laser focused there, and the Democrats arguably are too. So we got to make sure that we get all hands on deck to find these ballots so we can get that path to 270 complete, so we can have a fun election night. Isn't that what we're trying to do? And hopefully a great 4 years instead of a not so fun election night and a not so fun 4 years. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Red Eagle, out.